Welcome, everybody. I am Steve Drost. With me, as always, Will Kaplan. Of course, Will and I are both from the Quivr CRM team, where our objective is simple. How can we make your life just a little bit easier? Now, Will, you've known me for a while now, and you also know that if there is a button, I really, really have to push it. I don't want
Have
to.
to push
I
it.
have
Have
to.
to push it.
I have to. No, and today we're going to talk about a button, actually two button or maybe two groups of buttons in the system that I didn't realize maybe not everybody utilizes or knows about, where I use them, at least one of them, every day, all the time. And I think most people know the story of my mom, right? Mom works with me. Mom never had a desk job. She was a stay-at-home parent, the hardest job on earth, mind you. But my mom's worked with me for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years now, and things are going great. But we were doing a Zoom the other day, and she didn't she made a comment that she wanted to see something on a task but didn't know how to without clicking into it. I'm like, Mom, you can just push that more button right there and then boom. And I had this realization that who else doesn't know about these buttons?
And it's so funny because like a lot of this stuff I think hides in plain sight. There
Yes.
are there are kind of buttons all over the place in Salesforce, and it's one of Salesforce's like greatest powers and biggest weaknesses at the same time because you really do kind of your eyes just can't take everything in I think all at once until you get that like I need to go look for this because I'm going to start using it. And I think the piece that is so interesting about this is like you use this all the time. You know it's there. You've sort of trained yourself. Your mom never uses it because she just, I guess got used to the way that she was doing things and didn't realize that it was even an option. And I think there's a lot, unfortunately, in Quiver that's kind of like this, where like there's stuff that's kind of hidden around all over the place, not intentionally. Like we've tried to be very good about putting stuff where you think you want it, but you get to that point where you're like, this is how I interact. I never use the search bar. I always click through into household, or you just get used to the way that you're looking
Even the
for data doing
breadcrumbs. We should we
things.
should talk about the breadcrumbs too. And
Yeah.
it's maybe like a self-realizing prophecy or whatever it's called. We have a ton of data inside of Quiver. And that is because that data is important to a lot of people. So we need that. Now I know nobody uses every piece of data in the system, myself included. But when you do have a lot of data, we've heard before that Quiver can be clicky. And I get that. So what we've done is we've added little trinkets or little buttons in various spots to help reduce the clickiness of it, right? Put the information in front of you. The homepage is a huge thing of that, right? And we're going to show that in a second here. We're trying to give you everything you need on the homepage so you don't have to, click in to get to things. And when I saw my mom, right, not know about this more button that we're about to show you, it's like we have to take a step back and we got to tell other users about this, because if people are clicking around to get to some of these bits of information, then that's just not okay, because we have spent time and built out features and functionality to save you those clicks.
Yeah. I mean, it is one of those things where it is constantly a compromise between giving more data and trying to keep the interface as clean as possible and as small as possible. And so it's a fight that we uniquely feel. And this is, I think, one of those compromises where, there is a button available to you where I just need a little bit more information. I don't need a ton more. I don't need to click into this thing. I just need a little bit more. So with
Yeah.
that, Steve, you want to,
Yeah, I'll share.
we'll kind of
And
jump
as
in.
always, this is the scariest part of my day, hitting share. Can you see?
Yep. That looks great.
I did it well. Awesome. So we're just logged into a dummy environment right now. We're on the standard homepage. And you'll notice I said the more button. You see, right? My tasks, here's the more. Notice on this team tasks, there's a more. Meeting prep, there's a more. Meeting prep, there's a more. There's a more on almost every single one of these boxes. And what it does is, let's say you need some information about the does, you need some information about something else. If you click this more button, it opens up a new window that allows you to search. So I only want to see things about the Halperts, for example. You can now search in here, and you can start to decipher who's what. You can sort it as well by things other than the due date. You can sort by the subject, the description, what you're doing. You can make it longer. Show yourself 200 tasks if you want to see them. So we're giving you a little bit more functionality without having to really click very far, right? It's just hit this more button, right? Hit it. You want to see who it is. You want to get to something. You want to see the last time something's been talked about or what's been edited. So I can see right here, a user edited here. And you can just see a little bit more information. Meetings are the same. Hit on more. Instead of just meeting date, household, and meeting name, you can see the type of a meeting, right? It's a client review meeting. It's not a prospect meeting. It's a video conference. Perfect. Like, for example, in person versus video conference, your prep is probably different. You want to have quick and easy access to this, right? The one sentence summary for meeting prep or meeting follow up might be really helpful just to see what did they even talk about? What's going on here? But the idea though is we're giving you more access to that. And then also, Will, I think that some people don't realize you can edit your homepage. And when editing your homepage, this is a user decision. So every user can have their own homepage. And what we do see is the role that you serve in your firm directly determines the information that you want access to in your firm. Therefore, customize the homepage to put the information that you need right at your fingertips. So, for example, I do like the financials of the team. I don't care about financials primary, financial secondary. I care about financials team because I am the team, right? I am the firm. So I actually have that, but I don't need it on its own tab. I throw it on my daily docket, and financials for me sit over here. So I can see it every day. It updates, Schwab balances come in, it updates overnight, it applies the fee schedules, and I just see my financials usually within about 1 to 2% degree of variance. So not perfect, but pretty damn accurate. Would you agree?
Yeah, and I think that's probably the step that gets missed the most by a lot of our users is the people that are usually point. So if it's like an operations director or if it's someone that, is on the decision making team, they're going to be the ones that maybe know to come in and customize this, but the CSA pools and the secondary chairs, they're not necessarily going to be exposed to this as quickly because they weren't part of that either demo process or their onboarding. They just didn't become aware of it. And so they're dealing with some of these layouts that maybe aren't as ideal for them. And so again, it's one of those things where like just take a couple extra minutes, look at what's in that edit homepage, and really make this be a little bit more functional for you. And then the other thing that we were talking about with those more buttons is a lot of the stuff in those buttons is also a link. And so if you need to jump off to a household or if you need to jump off to a task record or things of that nature, you can click into that stuff as well as a way to sort of shortcut yourself around the system to get to specific data.
Makes sense.
And so it's one of those things where it's like, you know, it, there are shortcuts in here. You have to just get used to using them.
Yeah, and even this assigned users, right? This tells you who is assigned to this task. Platform user is the name of the user. So it could say platform user or it would say, Steve Drost. And this is great too, because when I was at my old firm, I worked with 3 or 4, maybe 5 CSAs, and I could just sort this and see, I need to go talk to this person. Well, these are the 4 or 5 tasks that, whatever that matter with them. So it does give you a little bit more information here. You can edit that homepage. But also, I agree, the search button, which I think we kind of stumbled into earlier, if we're trying to remove clickiness, the search function is phenomenal. You can find specific meetings if you want. If I were to search 2026 spring meeting, notice I'm even spelling things wrong. It's still showing up. This is that meeting right here. If you want to find a tax return, you can find it up here. Those things are showing up in here. Reports show up in here. People show up in here. Like accounts show up in here. Like all of this stuff, this QCD shows up in here. So you can use the search bar to find things other than just people and households. Um,
Well, and I think also, Steve, what's really interesting about that search bar that you just mentioned is once you start to like scope down to a particular record inside of search, so like if I type in helpers, the right side of that search bar starts to show me some contextual information. Like if you hover over that helper household, you start to see into some of the sub records that are in there. I can see meeting notes. I can see meetings. I can see they've got some core values assigned to them. So you start to get into those related lists that are over on the right side of the screen, and you can really like jump then to a very specific record just from their household record. And I think a lot of people don't use that as
like, look,
often because
I
they see
mean,
like,
I'm
yeah,
already
I mean,
into their
that's it exactly. Like you're already to their attorney and like it's, a little bit of typing and then one click to get to all the related parties. Like it's just something where again, it's kind of hiding in plain sight. People
here's
typically
the Halpers
see that.
meetings. Yeah. Like,
Yeah. Like they
and I'll
see
be
the
honest,
left-hand side, they don't see the right-hand side.
this is a feature that I should use more. I agree with you spot on. I mean, here's their values. Like it just shows up right here for you. The search bar is it's cool. I mean, here's a new contact, which when you hit new contact here, it's going to add the helpers automatically. Whereas when you do it from over here, you have to do it yourself, or you have to be on the helper page. Another thing is breadcrumbs. So breadcrumbs are these blue links in the top right. Well, I'm on a asset or an investment account on the helpers, but if I click here, it brings me to the asset and liability module. Or if I go back here, I can click this and it'll bring me back to the helpers, right? So you have these breadcrumbs up here, almost like you're in a file explorer on your Mac or your PC. But we can take it even further because they keep going. So, for example, one thing that I use all the time on held away accounts is an investment proposal. Well, if you get into an investment proposal, now look, I can go back to the account, back to the module, and back to the household. You can just keep going.
Yeah. And that
So
was
you don't
one
have
of
to.
the I yeah, I mean, that was one of the customizations that I think is so nice about Quiver is with default Salesforce, you don't really have the ability to quickly jump back up a level or jump back up 2 levels, like, to get back to the household. You have to then kind of, like, start over and go back and our addition of those breadcrumbs to help you navigate around and help try to make Salesforce a little bit less clicky definitely follows that philosophy of let's make it more efficient, let's make it simpler. But it is one of these things that a lot of times you just kind of skip over it. Like if you're not used to clicking on it, I use the breadcrumbs all the time. Like to me, that's a
Same,
super helpful feature.
same.
But I can absolutely see how people would miss it just because it again, it kind of hides in plain sight. You start working your way down the page, you get into all the records, forget the breadcrumbs are up at the top.
And notice what I'm doing here as well. I'm just hovering over things and data presents. And remember, anytime there's a blue link, you can click on it. So I can hover over Jim's Roth IRA. And because Jim's the primary owner, I can click on this and I'm on Jim now. Hovering over an email, let's see what it does. It doesn't do anything. What about hovering over this task? It tells me some stuff. Hovering over this household name. It doesn't tell me anything, but right, hovering over things, they're gonna display little bits of trinkets of information for you. With Zoom Phone, if I were to click this in my live environment, it would pull up Zoom and it would call them. I don't have to. I talk to people on my computer all of the time. If you hit this button, it wants to start an email, right? Automatically does it. You don't have to come over to your email and go find them and do that stuff. You can just hit his email address and it's going to start an email. So I guess that today, what started with, Will, when you and I were chatting about this, what started with was mom didn't know the more button here. It really just snowballed into the fact that I think there are a lot of native and Quiver custom built functionality within this system to remove a lot of the clickiness. And if you still feel like there is a specific level of clickiness that is annoying you or should be, I don't know, avoided, or there has to be a way to get rid of it or improve it, tell us. Tell us. Because the only way we can make something better or maybe even reduce your level of clickiness is by knowing about it. And if we know about it, then we can fix it. I always tell my wife, I can't help you not be mad at me if I don't know what you're mad at me about, right? If you're mad because I'm doing something wrong, tell me and then I can fix it.
Well, and this is such a like it gets to the point of like a preference item too, where if I'm working in Quiver and I need to get to a client, I'm going to go to the search bar, right? That's going to be the first place that I
Yeah,
go to because
same.
that's how I've trained myself to work. But I also see a lot of users who are going to households and then finding it in the list, right? That's not to say that it's one way's better or worse. It's just how we sort of interact with the data and get used to it. But if you're doing it one way, we need to hear about that. We want to know like, hey, this is how I'm doing it. It feels really clunky because one, there might be another way to do it, but two, there might be things that we can also then make, slight tweaks to the UI to make your way easier. We don't have to necessarily adopt our way of navigating through the system. But if we don't hear about it, we don't know that somebody out there needs help, that somebody's looking to make their job easier, a little bit more efficient, a little bit less clicky.
I love it. So the takeaway from this one is I think if there is a button, if it's a blue link, if it's a more, if it's a search bar, don't just click the button, but hover over that button too, because hovering over the button will give you sometimes it will give you additional information. But if there's something that's blue, just click it, right? I'll be very honest with you. I did not know what was going to happen when I clicked that email address because I wasn't specifically certain what we had set up from an email exchange with that specific environment. In my environment, I know exactly what happens. In this environment, I didn't know, but now I do know, right? And now I know that I can hit that button and this is going to happen, or I can hover over this and this is going to happen. Now, don't just create a whole bunch of records and change a bunch of stuff and delete a bunch of things. But if you're just trying to bounce from one screen to the next, I think the worst thing that you can do is get somewhere where you don't want to be, maybe get lost, then you just hit your home page and you're right back where you started. But
Yeah, for
anything
sure.
else to add on this one, Will?
I don't think so. Again, this is one of those things where this is an open invitation for you to connect with us because if there's things where, I'm hovering over this and I like I'm always looking to get to this spot, we want to hear about that. Or if,
Because odds
I'm
are
always
we can do that. You can change what displays when you hover. It's Quiver, it's Salesforce. You can pretty much do whatever you want.
you can kind
We
of
can
make
help
it
you
your
with that.
own.
Yeah,
Yeah, and or if it's like I'm always, whenever I click this button, then I immediately the very next button I'm clicking is this. So like we want to know those associations. We want to know how you're doing your work because that's how we help make that easier for you. And so like, most of our conversations, this is that open invitation where if you're feeling frustrated, if you're feeling like you want it to be a little bit more efficient, or if you want to see data in, this is how I think about data. How do I see it, now that I'm looking for it? Please bring those questions to us.
for sure. Absolutely. No, I love it. So if you see a button, click it and hover over it and then click. But no, perfect. If you're a Quiver user and you're having any questions about this, issues about this, or just you have suggestions or feedback, come to office hours, shoot us an email, submit a ticket. We're here to help. We're here to listen. If you're not a Quiver user, that's okay. Nobody's perfect. Everybody makes mistakes. But remember, it's not too late. Schedule a demo. Come hang out with me. Come hang out with Will and see what Quiver can do live for you and your firm.